This brief demo will highlight the critical importance of continuous monitoring and validation of cloud-native security controls. Let's dive into the topic. Why is continuous validation of cloud-native security so important? Well, a 2017 survey indicates that lack of visibility into cloud infrastructure security, along with the need for compliance, rates as one of C-Suite's greatest cloud concerns, and we're not surprised by this. But there is good news on the horizon. By 2018, 60% of enterprises that implement cloud visibility and control tools will experience significantly fewer security failures. So why this imperative for compliance of real-time data flows in order to halt malicious attacks? Well, let's look at the problem space. You know, once data flow policies are deployed, the environment's essentially a black box. You really don't know what's going on. Are the data flows actually matching allowed policy? Well, the risk here is that malware compromise workload or series of workloads, it can put your entire environment, all of your applications, and even your data at risk. It's a serious threat. So it is absolutely critical that you are comparing real-time data flows to deployed policy to identify non-compliant and malicious activity. It's just a security imperative. And equally, if a rogue flow does appear, you have to be able to take an automated action to keep your environment, your data, and your application safe. And this is exactly the topic of today's demo around the Cloudvisory security platform. Allow me to share my desktop here. Just give me a moment. And I'm going to pop up the Cloudvisory security console here. And what you're seeing is a multi-cloud environment that happens to have assets from both Azure and AWS. And what I'm going to do here is dig into the AWS environment and just expand it. And one of the things that you'll see right away is that we actually visualize the infrastructure environment exactly as it's deployed in AWS. Things are organized by accounts, by regional data centers, by VPCs, and then you see the workloads in them. And what I'm going to do is hone your attention in down to the lower left corner where you see the AWS VM1 workload, and you see a couple of green threads that are emanating out of that workload. Those actually represent the real-time data flows of how that workload is allowed to communicate out to Expense 01 workload and Expense 03 workload. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this a little bit further, and I'm going to simulate a malware attack. And we all know what happens during malware attacks. Basically, all ports begin getting scanned by the malware because they're trying to find a way out of that workload and across into other workloads in your environment. So I'm going to simulate this by creating some malware here and do a simulated attack. And then I'm going to take you back to the visualization screen, and I'm going to refresh the visualization and watch what happens. All of a sudden, bam, you see all of these dashed red lines appear as that workload attempts to communicate outwardly to any way that it can. Now, right now, those flows are being properly blocked, okay? But we don't want to leave that malware attacking our environment, and I want to show you this. These are the actual cloud-native security controls, the actual security groups that are deployed in AWS for this particular workload. And you see 12 outbound rules. And what we're going to do whenever we see, within Cloudvisory, whenever we see this kind of activity, where there's so much port scanning going on, and we know exactly what the real-time policy is supposed to be, anything that doesn't fit that real-time policy, we're going to shut down. So what you're going to see happen here is we're going to wipe out these 12 outbound rules, and we're going to make outbound communication impossible so that there's no way for that malware to exit and actually do damage to my environment, my applications, or my data. And we're going to do that fairly simply. Okay, within Cloudvisory, this would be an automated action. For today, I'm going to show you that I'm going to change the enforced state to quarantined state just by clicking that. Do I want to quarantine it? Yes, I do. And then I'm going to refresh my visualization screen, and I am going to show you, bam, immediately all communications are shut down. You see that in that AWS VM1 is now a red ring. That tells us that it's in the quarantine state, and it can now do no harm. My forensics teams will go in. They'll assess what the real threat is. Most likely what will happen is we'll end up rebuilding that box as a fresh, brand new instance. And hopefully you really got the point here, which is that it's absolutely critical to be continuously, minute by minute, watching the actual data flows that are coming out of all your cloud workloads. And we are going to compare those to the deployed cloud-native security groups and make sure they match. And if they don't match, we are going to be able to take an immediate enforcement action, quarantine that workload by shutting down all outbound communications and then alerting the proper forensics teams to come in and do the proper cleanup. Really, thank you very much for watching this video today and for taking time to just spend a little bit of time with us. And we hope that you'll jump out to cloudvisory.com and continue to look at our various CloudVisory security platform demos, and we look forward to engaging our expertise with you and your teams so that we can make your cloud safer. Thanks for listening.